2026 is finally here, boys. And just like we all expected, the hype is absolutely unreal right now. Two massive Roblox titles, Rell and Holy War X, are getting pushed as the next big things, promising insane combat, high quality gameplay, and endless exploration. Or at least that's what the trailers and devs keep claiming. But here's the thing, don't fall into the hype trap. The more they build it up, the harder the crash if these games flop on launch. We've seen it a million times with endless delays, unrealistic promises, and features that don't deliver. In this video, we're diving deep to debunk a lot of the hype and break down the real reasons Rell and Holy War X might flop, or at least underwhelm when they finally drop. Trust me, this is gonna be good. So lock in, hit that like button, and let's get to it. What is the hype trap? See, devs have this thing that they do where they drop endless sneaks and then drop a game trailer. And at the end of the trailer, they'll always put coming soon, leaving people expecting to get a high quality game within a couple of weeks or maybe a couple of months. And then they go silent. Now, don't get me wrong. Marketing is a pivotal part of creating a game and creating a fan base so that you can have players on game launch. But the problem and the trap comes when these games overhype games and overmarket. Doing things like getting YouTubers to absolutely glaze their game who've never touched the game, and a completely biased review telling you that the game is the best game ever and that it's going to save Roblox just for the game to either never release or when it comes out it's completely awful. I personally don't think there's anything wrong with marketing your game, but honestly I think we have to do it properly and do it honestly. If your game's not anywhere near release, stop dropping trailers. Stop sneaking games after 2 weeks of development and hyping up the whole community for a game that you just started working on. No more passion projects, none of that nonsense. I feel like these devs have to be a lot more professional in how they work on their games so that they can stop burning out the rest of their community. See, the problem with the hype trap is after all the game glaze and trailers, once we receive none of them, or once it doesn't deliver, it essentially demoralizes the rest of the community from that game and other games to come, because it seems to be an endless loop of the same thing. Hype up a game, it comes out, or it doesn't, and it's trash. Devs have to be a lot more professional and intentional with how they make these games and market them, and then be more specific in who they choose to review their games. Delay, delay, delay. Now, Holy War X and Rell have been in development for actual years. I mean, there's some kids that were in high school or middle school who are like full-grown adults now. Some people got jobs. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with overestimating your game just because you want the highest quality possible for the community, which is appreciated. But creating unrealistic standards for release dates just for the rush of trying to get a game out, just to go back and change your mind and push the game back another year is crazy. This is a problem we're seeing with both of these games right now. For example, Rell literally just pushed the game back to 2026. Mind you, it was projected to be in testing and released by December. Now we're towards the end of January and the game's still not even talking about their plans of release or even entering testing phase. This is a huge problem, and this is a big reason why the game could flop when it comes out. You see, building up the hype and the intention of the player to play the game and still falling back on your own words will always leave a bad taste in the community's mouth. And frankly, even as a content creator, it is extremely frustrating because we create schedules and plan out how we want to make our content, and the game devs just are not a reliable source of information. Now, yes, these games are by far leaps ahead of other games in terms of quality and content that the games offer, which is understandable why the games would take longer to develop. The only problem is, we're not upset that the game is taking a while to develop. We're upset at the lack of transparency between y'all and the community. If you know you have a lot of features that you want to implement, how about instead of telling people you're going to drop movie 3 and then go to closed test and then open test and then full release in the span of 3 months, how about you just be honest and say, hey, we don't have a date, we got a lot to work on, and we'll get back to you guys as soon as we have some information that's actually going to be significant to the game's release. Now, a minute ago, I just said it's okay to overestimate your game, which it is, 1 or 2 times. But Rell and Holyware X have done it like 6 times. Like I said, making a mistake in thinking or not knowing the full scope of your game's plan and overestimating it to be ready at a certain time is understandable, doing it 1 time or maybe even twice. But these devs we know for being overachievers and people who constantly want to improve and revitalize different aspects of their game. So why in the hell, with these ideas in mind, do we somehow keep putting ourselves within a few months and trying to conquer the world in the span of 2-3 months? It just doesn't make any sense. These devs completely overestimate their abilities, and sometimes maybe they just overestimate their team's abilities, where they give a lot of their developers, modelers, programmers, and coders, they don't give them enough time, and it puts a lot of pressure on the team, which might end up in even worse quality stuff because they're asking them to do A to Z and telling them they need it done by the week. I think it's about time we add some realism within these teams. Behind the scenes in these development teams, I think we gotta have talks and just talk about realistic timelines. Whether that's saying, hey, I wanna make this happen, how much time do you guys think we need? And from that, you guys work quietly and let the work show once you're close to the end of that. Whether if you wanna do 1 or 2 revisions and revamps, if you do that silently, you'd have no problem from the community. The problem is, you guys say, hey, we want to do this, and then make a video the next day and drop a sneak off of 1 animation, and then say, actually guys, everything we showed you last week, we deleted it all and we're starting from the ground up again. What the hell, bro? What the hell? But as a collective, and this is speaking to more than just Holyware X and Rell, all devs and game owners, do us all a favor, be reasonable and be realistic. We aren't mad at you for not being able to get a game out fast. We're mad that you tell us you're gonna get the game out fast and don't do it. So how about from now on, we actually look at what we've gotten done and we look to make realistic timelines to be able to fit all that work into that time frame. Now, in a moment of serious analysis, both of these games have absolutely skyrocketed in terms of quality from where they started to where they are now. I personally am not too mad at how long the games have taken to make. My issue is just the lack of transparency within the whole development process. But looking at both the games, from gameplay, from progression, to how innovatively they've taken concepts of combat and storyline progression and just put it all together to make an overall great project, I think these games have a lot of potential to really change the platform for the better. But they've really got to get on their stuff and stop wasting our time. Now, will these games die? I don't think so, honestly. As much as everyone's hating on them for all the delays and all the issues they've had, I think these games are actually going to do pretty well on the platform. Will they be worth the wait? Only time will tell. I do expect them to have a lot of bugs, just because this scope of game never really comes out without hitches, especially with how flawed their testing process is. But hopefully, with all the waiting, these games will somewhat deliver and, for lack of better terms, save us from our boredom. If you guys like having conversations like this, feel free to join the Discord, because we have conversations like this all the time in there where we just talk about different games and what we think of them. Thanks again for watching. Till next time.